When we look at men's fashion, it really, historically, was much more over the top than women's. And I think that's sort of happening again in the last few years, because there's a whole generation of these like young guys, because of the internet, who know everything. And certainly the metrosexual component of fashion, like, you know, young guys, like straight high school guys want to get dates, they know their fashion. I've always been into clothes, and as an only child, my parents were always, you know, dressing me, giving me probably a little bit more attention had there been several siblings. But I can recall trips to Fred Segal when I was like 6 or 7 years old, and always being aware of clothing being a means to express myself. I'll confess I grew up in Beverly Hills, but I was born in East LA, so I have a little street cred. I think ever since Beverly Hills 90210 from the TV show, it kind of gave the city like a certain reputation that may not be entirely accurate. I went to Beverly Hills High School, I went to Hawthorne Elementary, and then I went to UCLA. So I'm so SoCal. I did so much with my parents that probably would not have occurred had there been a larger family. So, you know, I did things that an adult did as a child. So when we went to South America at 3 and a half, I was there with my parents. My intention was never to work in fashion. My bachelor's is in theater. I really trained to be an actor. I'm a classically trained singer. When I got out of college, I did an album of German cabaret. I toured around the country singing Viol and Hollander. Well, I worked at the Theodore in the Beverly Center, which was called Contents at the time. And in the late 80s, the Beverly Center was still pretty chic. Built my probably style of selling, which is really not about selling. I'm a storyteller. And I, at that time, wrote thank you notes at Theodore, and I continue to do that today. Well, Decades is a high-end vintage couture boutique. We approach vintage as modern clothing, and then we have a second component that does modern designer clothing. I was never really afraid to wear things outside the box. In fact, it just came out of a Wake Me Up Before You Go video. Well, this jacket I bought from a woman who worked for George Michael. It was his Catherine Hamnett jacket, and I had remembered the jacket when I worked at Theodore when this was made, and I'd always wanted one, so it came into my life. This is the first time I've actually worn it. The ring is a Kieselstein cord ring from like the big 80s, and it says health, love, and happiness carved into the bloodstone. I needed to wear a mask to a gala, so of course mine had to be an alligator mask. I love this hat because it's sort of like so Mad Men, but the color is so vibrant. I love the idea of a leather t-shirt. I wear it under tuxedos quite often. It was interesting when I bought it. Sometimes I'll buy something and I'm kind of fascinated by it. I'm almost challenged by how it's going to work in my closet. It's like, I'm looking at this leather t-shirt with a pocket, and then I got how I could wear it. Like I wear it formally. I don't wear it with, you know, a pair of shorts. We didn't have stylists then, but we had Edith Head, or these, or Helen Rose, or Adrian, these costume designers who really collaborated with the actress to not only create her on-screen wardrobe, but also her wardrobe for the public. So, you know, stylists have always been around. They just had different titles, and certainly back then the costume designers were brands. That's, I think, one of the most amazing things that Hollywood hasn't recognized, is that all of these great, incredible costume designers who 40 years ago or 60 years ago would be household names have been eclipsed by stylists who are household names. I mean, everybody knows Rachel Zoe or other counterparts. Celebrity has become even more exaggerated and even more powerful, and I think we've really become the fashion capital of the world because of the images that get exported out of LA. So the influence of this city, which is really an extremely casual city in its lifestyle. There's this dichotomy of the casual quality in the daytime, but in the evening we're really such a glamorous city. And my store is a performance space. Really, it's like a theater.
Completely.
I'm still performing. I'm instead of recycling old songs, I'm recycling old clothes. Sometimes it is almost emotional for me to see a great performance, to see someone amazing. It's not a jealousy, just I miss that incredible experience of being on stage. I always say that straight men spend way more money than gay guys. Gay guys buy t-shirts and jeans. Straight men buy custom-made suits. The business is, I always say it's like the right dress on the right woman. I just love how powerful it is for somebody to find something that's, I had a woman yesterday who bought a dress that was Dior from '64. And she was so excited about it, and I don't want to say she was high from it. It just was, she was so excited to have a piece of history, but I mean, I didn't have to sell it. She put it on, and we just talked about what needed to be tailored, and I loved it, and she'll get a thank you note. It's incredibly liberating not to be caught up in something being of the season. I think that's one of the things that vintage has really taught people, is that, okay, this is still good even if it's a year old, or 2 years old, or 10, or 20, or 30 years old. I'm all about seasonless dressing. I don't care if it's a season old or 100 years old, it's about the value of dressing. If I don't get it right, it's always, that's the day when I run into somebody like, really powerful, influential, and it's just like I look like a slob. It's totally, like, when I look sloppy or I look lazy. And there was, for a couple months this year, I just wasn't that into clothes. I just didn't want to put that much effort into it. And then all of a sudden it was like March and spring was happening again, and I love the idea of dressing up. It's all drag. Ali McGraw was the first person to use that term with me. I remember going shopping with her at the ethnographic show, and she's like, "Cameron, what's your drag?"
It's all drag.
We're all putting on drag.